Have you ever wondered about the nature of reality? During a meditation, I received a message of how reality is such an illusion, and that only if we connect it to our higher self, we can get rid of our day-to-day mental struggle. The following is a recording that was made right after I finished meditating. Please listen. Here's how reality works and why everything is such an illusion. For instance, the creator is what you call the super brain or the higher consciousness. You have the higher consciousness, then you have the souls, which are like a drop of that higher consciousness. The soul lives outside of the body, and it gives life to the body. However, you have the brain. The brain is a receiver to the higher consciousness messages. For example, you're looking at a person, the highest consciousness says love. But the brain, when it receives the message, it doesn't receive it correctly sometimes. And the brain, what it does, because the brain is ruled by emotions. In the physical, you're ruled by emotion, by anger and love and all of it. The brain is very judgy. So instead of the brain giving the right message of love, the brain will look at the person and say, oh, he's too fat. He's too ugly. And the brain will judge to the minutest detail just by one look at a person without even knowing that person. That brain will judge right away that that person is ugly, or that person is this color, is that color. That means that this person is no good. And it goes on and on and on. Within seconds, at the end, the brain decides that it doesn't like that person. Never mind that the brain never spoke to that person. It goes just based on look and judgment and previous things that it learned from childhood and different experiences. And it goes on and on and on. And it's very judgy. So it judges, condemned, and it makes up a whole big story about what that other person is without giving that person a chance to speak to them or anything. So this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a brain that is a receiver to higher consciousness, that it goes on and it creates a whole different story. It creates a story, for example, of what it is. It thinks that it is all there is, that I am this character, I am this personality. It creates a big story based on experience and based on the environment or whatever. It creates a story that this is my personality and this is who I am and there's nothing else, nothing exists. When at the end of the day, it's so a big game. It's all make-believe. The ego doesn't exist. It's all made up by the brain. And a lot of times you have these other people, for example, that are so disconnected from their soul. So disconnected. For example, like a murderer or a serial killer. That serial killer has no communication with the higher self, with a higher consciousness. It is even less than an animal because it has no empathy. It has no connection. The brain messed up so bad. It's so bad that cut the connection between the brain and the soul. There's no connection there. It's like a body, like the lights are on, but there's nobody there. The soul has no connection to it. Cannot connect. And how do you convince that serial killer that connect to your soul? And when you connect to your soul, you should be able to get better. How do you convince them? Because they don't even believe that they have a soul. The soul cannot communicate with them because the brain just cut it off. But if that serial killer were to sit down and quiet the mind and connect to that higher self, the higher self can come in and fix the brain. It's the same thing when a person has depression. The brain took over. The brain got sick, took over. It doesn't receive. The soul might be saying, you're wonderful. But the brain says, you're no good. And the soul is sending a message to the brain, you are good enough. And the brain goes and receives it and changes it to, you're not good enough. You're not doing anything well. You can't do nothing for yourself. It gives you so much worry, so much stress, because you're not listening to your higher self properly. And the way that you listen to yourself properly, you have to shut that brain that is always going and telling you negative things. How do you shut it down? You have to sit quietly in meditation and train your brain. Train it to focus. Focus your mind to shut it. You shut down the brain. You focus your mind. You focus. And then you're able to hear. You're able to hear your true self. You're able to hear your higher self. The communication will come straight with no filter. You won't have that brain, because the brain is always thinking, and you have to shut it down from thinking in order to receive communication from your higher soul. They call it higher soul because it's who you are at the end of the day. It's outside of the body, controls the body very much, right? But the brain has made up a story of who you are, and it has to do that because that's the job of the brain. The job of the brain is to make you believe that you are this personality, to make you so involved into this life, into the things that you're doing in this life and who you think you are, and makes you involved in life so you can forget that you are higher consciousness. You're just here temporarily, and you get so miserable in your mind because you think, oh, such and such is gonna die, or I'm getting old. That's just your brain. This is just temporarily. This is a game. It is all a game. Nothing really matter at the end of the day. We are so asleep, fighting each other, worrying about this, worrying about that. Quiet your mind so you can understand who you really are. Who you really are is so much greater and so much bigger than the day-to-day stupidities, day-to-day worries. Forget that. Connect to that higher self. So those little day-to-day annoyances that the brain throws at you doesn't bother you. So you can get the answer straight from the horse's mouth, instead of a receiver, that's your brain, that is giving you the message incorrectly. Incorrectly, it's made to do that. It's made to keep you asleep. It has to do that, because otherwise, how do you play the game of life if you know there's nothing else that exists but the Creator? How does the Creator play the game of life if it cannot argue with you and talk to you, and you are somebody else, and I'm this person, you that personality, and I'm this personality? It makes it a lot more fun, right? It makes it think that we are all separate and that we are something else, and when it's all one consciousness. That's the truth of it all. Your brain really created this whole thing based on your body that you have. You have a physical body, right? And the brain has ego, and you creates this personality, and it creates and it makes you think that this is all you are, and it just feeds you negativity after negativity after negativity, and it talks to you like your worst enemy sometimes. But you know what? You don't have to listen to your brain all the time. Shut it down. 30 minutes a day, even more, an hour. Shut it down. Connect directly to who you are, so you can be guided in your life, so you can be happy and find joy. Don't forget to come back because I have a lot more messages that we received during meditation that I would love to share with you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.